following also the situation of another player, and this is Eberechieze. For Eberechieze, I told you over the weekend there was a contact between Arsenal and the agents of the player. The story has been confirmed basically everywhere, but that story is important because Arsenal are working on the Eberechieze deal. The talks are concrete. What I can tell you today is that also the player is opening doors to Arsenal. The player is keen on the move to Arsenal, is excited by Arsenal project, he will be keen on joining Arsenal, so Eberechieze is something concrete for the Gunners. Contact with the agents is a separate topic and story from Noni Madueke. For Madueke, they didn't send any proposal. They had some conversations to understand the situation 1 week ago. For Eberechieze, they started talking about the conditions of the deal with with Crystal Palace and with the player side. Tottenham at the moment are not advancing for Eberechieze because they are focused on Mohamed Kudus, and so keep an eye on Arsenal and Eze because the player is keen on the move and the conversation is ongoing. So Eberechieze, a name we have to keep in the list as per the story from 2 days ago for Arsenal. On Arsenal today, guys, many questions from the fans on Christian Mosquera's situation because Valencia have offered a new deal to Christian Mosquera with an important salary. My understanding, guys, is that Christian Mosquera's desire is very clear. Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal. Christian Mosquera wants to play for Arsenal. Now it's on Valencia and Arsenal to reach an agreement on the transfer fee. The first bid, 15 million euros, got rejected. Arsenal will be back to the table with a new proposal. So for sure the conversation will continue, club to club, for Mosquera, and the desire of the player is to go to Arsenal. Now, Valencia can try their efforts, of course, is maximum respect for the club, but my feeling is that Christian Mosquera is leaning towards a move to Arsenal. So that's my understanding, that's my feeling, and we will see what's going to happen there. But for sure, the attraction of Arsenal project for this player too is something very strong, and so it's going to be complicated, I think, for Valencia to convince Mosquera to stay at the club. Then, guys, I wanted to clarify something else, and it's about Viktor Gyökeres. For Viktor Gyökeres, we are having many rumors on a deal getting closer between Arsenal and Sporting as of tonight. I'm told that tonight there are still no changes. Nothing has changed between Arsenal and Sporting for Gyökeres. There is no advanced conversation or advanced negotiation to get a deal done between clubs. We know that Gyökeres and Arsenal are in discussions, have been in discussions for weeks, because Gyökeres is one of the main targets for Arsenal this summer, but at the moment still nothing has advanced between clubs. We know there is still this war ongoing between the agents of Gyökeres and Sporting to understand the final price of the player, and that's the point, guys. The price has to be clarified before Arsenal go to the table and try to close the deal with Sporting. So let's be patient. As of today, still nothing has changed, but Gyökeres remains a target for Arsenal, a topic for Arsenal. Then we will see how this conversation will go with Sporting. On Viktor Gyökeres and Manchester United, also, guys, remember that the priority of Viktor Gyökeres would be to go to Arsenal because of Champions League football, but he never rejected Manchester United.
And continuing with today's top stories, Arsenal are keeping talks alive with Magnus Aklush following discussions regarding the transfer of Viktor Gyökeres. Arsenal have been in talks with Gyökeres over a transfer switch, with his agents deep in discussions over the Sporting CP star moving to the Emirates Stadium. While Andrea Berta heads up those talks, the sporting director may well have taken advantage of those contacts. That's because, according to L'Equipe, talks have also been held over another client of agent Hassan Setinkaya. That is for AS Monaco star Magnus Aklush, the 23-year-old French playmaker who has shown plenty of potential. It's claimed that the attacking midfielder features on a list of options being assessed this summer, but he won't come cheap. A 70 million euro, 60 million price tag has been slapped on Aklush, which could make any deal complicated. The 23-year-old had 15 goal involvements in League One last season, while he scored 2 and assisted twice in the Champions League. Magnus Aklush was once coached by Arsenal legend Thierry Henry. With Magnus Aklush now appearing as a target for Arsenal this summer, there is already a connection between him and the club. The attacking playmaker was actually coached by Arsenal legend Thierry Henry during his time at the Olympics and in the France under-21s. Speaking in early 2025, Aklush told TNT Sports, both on and off the pitch, Thierry Henry, gives me a lot of advice. Thanks to his experience as a player and coach, his words are gold. You have to pay attention to them. When he says something to you, you pay attention because he never says just anything. He's also aware that young players need more attention and advice, so he helps us a lot. It's important to have that help. That connection could help Arsenal get a deal over the line, should Henry manage to convince Aklush of making such a move. It remains to be seen, though, if the Gunners are willing to match AS Monaco's demands, though. David Ornstein drops ominous Gabriel Martinelli. Update: Arsenal just aren't learning. Gabriel Martinelli had another underwhelming season, with the Brazilian's lack of form and Arsenal's missing depth highlighted over the 2024/25 campaign. As a result, Andrea Berta is doing his homework on an array of wide players, with Rodrigo one of Arsenal's favored options this summer. Given Arsenal's injury crisis in 2024/25, the idea of signing a top-quality attacker to compete with Martinelli is a win-win for Mikel Arteta, who needs fresh combinations to bolster his attack. The thought of Arsenal finally signing a high-quality player to induce competition is exciting, but all is not what it seems. Amid the growth of reports linking Rodrigo to Arsenal and separate news revealing transfer interest in Martinelli, renowned journalist David Ornstein set the record straight. Speaking on the Athletic FC podcast, the transfer expert explained that it's actually unlikely that Arsenal will sign a top winger to compete with Martinelli, with the reality being it'll be the Brazilian or someone else. Arsenal always wanted to strengthen on the left wing, but they've got Gabriel Martinelli there. If he were to leave, then you could see them bringing in a top left-sided winger. If he's not to leave, I don't think so. Ornstein elaborated by mentioning Rodrigo and fellow Arsenal target Anthony Gordon. We've reported on the likes of Rodrigo and Anthony Gordon. I think that's if a Martinelli leaves. I don't necessarily think that that's if he was to stay. The news will come as a blow to fans, as what was presenting itself to be the end of accepting mediocrity with one first choice in the position is in fact just more of the same. Arsenal have finished second in the Premier League for 3 seasons in a row. When you consider how the squads of both Liverpool and Manchester City looked when beating Arteta's side to the title, it's clear to see where the Gunners were lacking. Both Arne Slot's and Pep Guardiola's squads were packed with star talent in every direction. If the first choice wasn't available, the gap between starter and substitute was barely noticeable. For Arsenal, this isn't the case, particularly as Martinelli has been underperforming as the first choice with no competition, a situation that the club aren't as open to changing as initially thought. Arsenal facing difficulties selling Alexander Zenchenko due to his wages. AC Milan are interested in Zenchenko, but with the defender currently earning £200,000 a week as per Capology, the Gunners are struggling to find a club willing to match his salary. Zenchenko could run down his Arsenal contract and leave for free next summer, but Arsenal want to find a way to get the Ukraine star off their books this window, preferably with a transfer fee. TBR Football's chief transfer expert Graham Bailey has revealed that Arsenal will need to be creative in their attempts to sell Zenchenko. Bailey stated, "Zinchenko's got potential interest from all around the place. Zenchenko is a bit more difficult because he's on big money, so it's not easy to get him out. I think they might have to get creative with him. Arsenal could use Alexander Zenchenko in a swap deal this summer. Arsenal notoriously underwhelm when it comes to selling players, and Zinchenko's contract situation could see yet another player leaving the club for well under his true value." One strategy the Gunners have underused in the past is exploring swap deal options. Zenchenko could be used in a deal for Rafael Leao from AC Milan, with Berta taking advantage of the Italian's interest. If Arsenal use Zenchenko to help land one of their attacking targets or a promising young player from an interested side, then it would help to reduce the loss on the 28-year-old. Zenchenko was signed for £30 million from Manchester City in the summer of 2022, and although it is highly unlikely the club will recoup a figure anywhere near that amount, they can still make use of his talents in the market. And that wraps up today's biggest Arsenal news. If you enjoyed the update and want to stay on top of everything happening with the Gunners, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, Arsenal!